All right, are we ready?
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Happy Friday, boys and girls, and welcome to the latest edition of The Week That Was from Deadline Detroit. I'm Nancy Derringer, and I'm sitting in for the Con, who was called into a last-minute faculty meeting today. But fortunately, as has been the case for the last seemingly eon, we have been standing in a literal fire hose of news in the last 7 days, and so we have a great deal to talk about. Happy first day of spring. Farewell to Chuck Norris, who left us
86.
Yes, at 86. This is going to be happening a lot, guys. I mean, the baby boom is reaching the end of the line.
Well, if you read 2 days ago, he actually had an accident.
What? I did not know this.
Yeah, he's in Hawaii. He was to Hawaii. I don't know if it was for a shoot, but they said he had an accident and he was concerned. And all of a sudden, the story flipped from accident to no comment to dead.
Oh, okay. Maybe he was.
And
surfing.
you never would have asked her.
Got hit by his surfboard on a wipeout. Okay. We also have, of course, the NCAA tournament kicked off last night, so there's going to be plenty to talk about. Before we start, though, let's the panel is illustrious as always. We've got the conventional troika of lawyers, Bill Seikaly, Joe Sklar, and Steve Fishman, who are here to handle all of your legal questions. We have public affairs professional Darci McConnell. We've got labor and community activist Barb Ingalls. I'm usually described as a veteran journalist, but I'm really just a retired one. And of course, leading and running the show is Deadline Detroit co-founder Allan Lengel. And Allan, since I'm in this spot, I need to tell you something I think of every week when we start the show.
Yes.
We need to update the photographs in our intro.
In our intro, okay.
It feels a little Biden Trump 1 era kind of thing. That sort of
all right.
One other thing that I noticed, Alan, you need to put up when we have our 3 attorneys, we never get sued.
That's true. Oh, and I didn't mention pollster Ed Sarpolus coming to us from beautiful Lansing, right? You're in the Lansing area? Okay.
Well, I'm actually building a house in St. Clair County, but that's been in the family since 1900. Yep, so I'll be coming back.
St. Clair County. Okay, well, that'll be nice.
Actually, China Township, so you can't do business with me because I'm going to be from China.
Okay. Are you going to be on the water?
I'm 60 miles from the water, but I do have a river and a golf course behind me.
Oh, nice. Okay, all right. That's Bill McGraw, who is the other Deadline Detroit co-founder, and I sometimes like to go up and go swimming in the St. Clair River from that park there. It's very nice.
Very nice.
Bill's trying to invent a new sport for older swimmers called ottering, and it's we swim in fins in like flippers, and a flotation device because we're not stupid, and it's really very relaxing, but it's also pretty cold. You have to go it's August before it's tolerable. So let's see. The top of the news this week, the Iran war stumbles on. It's seemingly hourly updates and the usual obfuscations from the administration about what is or is not going on. This week, I think the story was that after spending the last year spitting on our allies, suddenly Trump has figured out what it means to have allies and is trying to convince them to help us defend the Strait of Hormuz, recently discovered by the Trump administration on the maps.
Including Japan, which
we
have a video.
And on top of all of this, our allies are angry that Trump started this war without consulting them. But of course, President Trump is smoothing things over with his trademark charm.
Why didn't you tell U.S. allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran?
Because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
Wow.
Wow, it's right. That is the Japanese ambassador he was sitting next to, the U.S. ambassador from Japan. Bill.
Yeah, I really think this week the most important part of this story is the bombing of the oil infrastructure.
Yes.
Trump says, "Oh, I had no idea that Israel was going to do this," which is absurd. The idea that he did could only mean one of two things. He didn't bother to read the updates, intelligence briefings, because there's no way that these jets are flying all over the country and don't know what the other one's doing. It just doesn't happen that way.
Without us knowing about it, too.
Right.
So.
I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. But more importantly, it upticks everything. And if people are worried about the price of gas, bombing the infrastructure is not only going to increase the cost of gasoline, oil and gasoline, and fertilizer, but it's going to keep it up there for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Once the Straits of Hormuz are open, you can get tankers through there. But if we bomb the infrastructure, you're talking about not having the ability to produce oil for a long time. This is a escalation that is very serious for this country and for the world. Trump's just ignoring it.
Mm-hmm.
That means you'd be drinking your vermouth versus going through the whole port of vermouth.
It is appalling to consider how much these folks do not seem to know about the war that they themselves started. And for Israel to be doing this, again, like you said, it's very bad news. The president ranted.
You're right about that, Nancy. I think that I don't believe for a minute that Donald Trump didn't know what was happening. I believe that he thinks that we are stupid enough to not know what's going on in the war.
Well, if you talk,
he thinks Qatar. Qatar's so angry that their energy fields are getting all fucked up now. So now Trump's saying, "I told them not to do it, and they did it, without me knowing." And Israeli sources, U.S. sources have said no. The U.S. was well aware of that. And, the other thing that's happened, there can't be enough lies being told about the rationale for going to war. And I don't try, Netanyahu's not the most honest human being either. But when he said, when he said Trump, he goes, "You think I could tell Trump what to do, about, entering the war and stuff like that?" Clearly, the U.S. Trump's like, "Hey, we got weapons. Let's go after Iran." It's like, Trump could have easily said to Israel, "No, you're not doing this now. We're negotiating. We're trying to get something done here. It's not happening." Trump is just dying. He's like a little kid with toys, and these are massive toys.
Well, the one thing I think people don't understand, there is conversation for the last year of something needed to be done. Okay. China gave Iran $300 billion to stop the U.S. from helping them get into Taiwan. So there was going to be something happening in Iran, so China could not get into Taiwan. The problem is Trump jumped the gun. He knew about Venezuela. He knew about Iran. So there was going to something happen to it, but he went and did his own plan. So I'm going to tell you this from my military friends, something was going to happen to Iran no matter what happened. In fact, this was putting up a spin so China could not get into Taiwan. They gave them $300 billion to build up the infrastructure so Iran could stop the U.S. helping the Taiwanese.
Interesting.
Well,
Steve.
I think the worst thing about all of this, we talked about it last week, and Rubio stupidly laid the foundation for it. The worst thing about all this guy Joe Kent, who quit, you saw what he said. And that's what a significant portion of the population believes that. And I think that anybody who has forget about anti-Israel, just anti-Semitic thoughts, this war and the kind of conversation that's gone on about it has contributed greatly to people's willingness to continue to believe really, really crazy things. And I don't know that anybody's really addressing. I mean, Bibi can say whatever he wants. Bibi, by the way, when Allan says he's kind of like, he's never told the truth in his life. I've told you guys before, as my Israeli sister says, he lies in 2 languages. He lies in Hebrew to the Israelis and he lies in English to us. So you can't trust one word that he says, but it's obvious to me. And this guy can't really let it out there. And
tell us what he said.
He chose to go public with this. You know, he was urged by Vance. I read a good article in the Post or the Times the other day. Just go ahead and resign and don't say anything. But what did he do? He wrote a letter which was published immediately, which basically blamed it on Israel. This is what we were doing. We're following along with the Israelis. And this guy's got a huge following because he's an absolute MAGA person. He still thinks the election was stolen, all the other crazy right-wing things he believes. And he's a Green Beret. So this is a man with military experience. And when I read what he had to say, and I think of Rubio making that idiotic statement that, oh, we had to because the Israelis were going in anyway, all this is doing is encouraging more and more of whether it's going to be another attack on a temple or a synagogue, it's encouraging more of it. And you're getting it from a source who was the head of counterterrorism right in the whole government, for God's sake.
And I think I remember in 1973, I was driving in Southfield, I think around 10 in Greenfield, and we had the oil shortage then. And somebody had a bumper sticker that said, "We need oil, not Jews." And I think as the price goes up, people are going to get madder and madder at Jews and Israel. And we see no distinction. I mean, we saw it with the pandemic where people were attacking Asian people on the streets. And we saw it after 9/11, where anybody who resembled any, Muslim or, from the Middle East was attacked and stuff like that. And so it's scary.
It's hard to make the distinction. I mean, I hate AIPAC. I mean, I don't, it's a strong lobby. I hate AIPAC. And I know people who have served on the board. It's not, I don't like AIPAC, and it's difficult for me to make the distinction between AIPAC and other Jews. I'm Jewish, obviously, and yet I understand what feeds into that stereotype. And we are, as a Jew, we're not doing ourselves any favors. We deny reality. We're not acknowledging really the death and what's happened in Gaza, which is horrific. We're not being true to ourselves, and it's decaying, our esteem in the community. And so anti-Semitism has been growing. It's going to continue to grow. AIPAC's going to continue to be desperate and influence elections any way they can. They're losing elections. They're going to lose both the left and the right. I mean, the left is no friend of Israel because of what has gone on, and the right is no friend of Israel, even those evangelicals. So again, this has just been awful, and I see awful things coming, and that's awful for me. I don't know how to explain it to my son. It's like, you're going to have a much rougher road than I had. I had it easy. I had a few, I had anti-Semitic incidents, but nobody threatened to kill me. You don't got it so good. And so I see the mixture, and I understand the anti-Semitism.
Don't be so quick, though, to say that evangelicals dislike Jews too. Evangelicals love Israel because they believe that the Israeli Jesus to come back. We have to.
I'm not saved.
Yes,
I'm going right in the net.
Well, they do. It's funny. I read a wonderful book about the Temple Mount just before 9/11. It was called "The End of Days" by Gershom Gorenberg, and he's right. It's all about the Temple Mount, the Western Wall, that piece of real estate. And at one point, he quotes an evangelical who's and he's explaining at a time when most people didn't understand why so many evangelicals like Mike Huckabee are so hot for Israel. And he explains this apocalyptic view that they have. And he said, and he quotes this minister saying, the Jews think this act has three play. The Jews think this play has 3 acts. We know it has 4. And in the 4th act, the Jews are cast into the lake of fire and, blah, blah, blah. But that's, so they have, it's a mixed bag, shall we say.
Did you want
to say something, Bill? Go.
Joe, I think that what Joe said is profound, but I don't think it's limited to Jewish people. Look, I think that so many people have lost their way. I think this country, who, had these principles that are found in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, we've lost our way. We no longer believe any of that stuff. We're casting it aside for power and for prestige and for whatever we think it is. And we've lost our moral high ground on any issue.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think it's limited. And I think I always go back to this notion that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The more power that people have or perceive they have, the more likely they're to do things to try and keep it and maintain it and push it. And I think that we have lost our way in many.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to leave the
last thing, if I could. I'm sorry, Nancy. I think it's so important that people like Joel and Steve and Allan, that we don't spend enough time doing this self-reflection. We don't spend enough time saying, wait a minute, where are we? What are we doing to improve this situation? And I think for somebody who's proud to be Jewish to stand up and say, wait a minute, what we're doing is causing problems, not solving problems, that we've lost our moral high ground. I think that's a really important thing. And
I think it's the majority, quite frankly, of Jews who feel that way. I think it's a very vocal minority and a very influential minority that advocates otherwise.
Unfortunately,
it is too viscerally painful to watch and not acknowledge the suffering that you claim to abhor. And I can't stand it, and it makes me sick. So that's where I'm coming from. I'll never be able to digest what I've seen.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Speaking of power, I don't want to pivot away from the war immediately, but we've got quite a bit going on in this country too that has nothing to do with the war. And one of them is the Senate debate this week over the SAVE Act. Allan, I think we have a video.
Yes, we do. I'm sorry. SAVE Act.
Going too good for King Hungry VIII right now because he's doomed in the midterms. He knows that. And so now he's pushing what he calls the Save America Act on Republicans in Congress. He said the Save America Act is one of the most important and consequential pieces of legislation in the history of Congress and America itself. No more rigged elections. This SAVE Act, this is nothing more than his attempt to hijack this upcoming election. It doesn't protect your right to vote. It does the opposite. It makes voting so difficult, a lot of people won't bother to do it, which is what he wants. In order to vote, you would need either a passport or a birth certificate to prove citizenship. In a lot of states, a driver's license alone won't do it. In Michigan, for example, in 2024, 0.00028% of the votes were illegal. That is 15 people in a state with almost 88 million registered voters. There are more people masturbating in the voting booths.
I hate to say it, but he's right. I mean, this is... And I'm not
did
talking
you
about
really
the
tell people you
masturbation.
did that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Steve.
I have a question for Ed. Every time Ed's on, I want to know what the polling is showing. So I've read a number of articles about this SAVE Act, and it seems to me from reading that they keep thinking it's going to affect the Democrats only. But quite frankly, it seems to me from reading what I'm reading, it's going to affect the Republicans as well. If they got old people, if you got infirm people, I mean, it's where they come up with the idea that it's only Democrats. What do you see in the polling?
Well, first of all, if you go south, they don't even know who their parents are. So how the hell are they going to find where the hell they're going to find a birth certificate?
But I'm bumped. Okay, there we go. Well,
Ask their sister. I don't. Okay.
Darcy.
So yeah, I mean, I think Kimmel did a pretty good job saying exactly, and so did Fishman, that this is voter suppression. But the other part of this is that they know they have no chance of getting it passed. So the thinking is that they're going to try to use it as a wedge issue to say, that Democrats wanted to make it easier for non-citizens to vote, illegals to vote. But of course, we know they can't vote. So that's already fraudulent on its face. Michigan has its own version too at the same time between the ballot initiative as well as some legislation. So it's a continual pattern that we've seen over the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 decades, every angle to try to implement some version of some voter suppression.
Right.
And also the fact when I get the voter file from the state, when I get the voter file, they tell me who the questionable people are right in the voter file. So I can tell you who without even talking to say, I can actually tell you if they've actually got it in the voter file, who are the questionable people that shouldn't be voting. They actually tell you that.
Well, and there's the QVF, the qualified voter file, which any citizen can get for about $25, I believe. You can order it up. The people wave that thing around during debates like this, and they point at all of the people who are, shouldn't be in there. And I remember I did a story about this when I was working for a nonprofit news site, and it was Kwame Kilpatrick. He was in prison. Carlita had moved to Texas. They were still registered to vote at the Park Shelton. And I remember talking to a guy, one of your colleagues, not a pollster, a political guy in Lansing, Mark Grebner. And he kept saying, it's not who's registered, it's who votes. And it's like, that is what is important. He said, you have all this junk in here because, people move and they don't, they don't tell the Board of Elections that they've moved. They just registered a new spot and they don't kill out their old one. For a while there, I was registered to vote in 2 states. I was registered in Indiana, where I moved to Michigan from, and here. But I only voted in 1. And so it just doesn't matter. But that's a good way to throw sand in the gears, is to say, look at this. Kwame Kilpatrick registered to vote.
You don't point out in the file that he's flagged. He's actually flagged in the voter file. I can pull up the 2 million people that shouldn't be on the list because they actually flagged them.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing I just want to say briefly is all these Republicans are standing up at the podium during this debate, and they're saying, what about what you need an ID to drive a car? You need this to do this. Why don't you need it to vote? And it's like, because voting is a constitutional right. You don't have to get a license to publish a newspaper. You just do it because we have freedom of speech in this country. I mean, these people are so ignorant, it drives me nuts. Go ahead.
I cut off the tape because it was going too long, but Kimmel points out also that those 15 people were caught.
Exactly.
That the system is good enough that it detects those things, and really 15 votes in the end, is not. We don't want anyone who's not supposed to vote voting, but it's pretty negligible.
Nobody has a perfect system. Of course, there's going to be a problem here or there, but this is far better than most things. But I think that the real story here is we're talking about a solution
to a problem that doesn't exist.
That's right. But it's not just, look at, this is so Trumparian. It's not just the SAVE Act. Cuba. Can somebody tell me why we're starving people in Cuba? What's the purpose there?
Oil.
What's the end game? No, we cut off their oil. They're not producing it.
That's what I mean. He's controlling them with the oil.
But
they can't eat and they can't heat.
That's right. Destroying it. These are include women and children, folks. These are not people who are, they're not spreading communism.
No,
they're barely able to stay alive.
Right. It's pretty clear that they don't care about children.
We want to take them over. Why? We're looking for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. And Trump does this time after time after time.
I think the analogy is, he goes into a store, breaks all of the fucking china, and then blames everybody else and says, you pick it up. I'm going to go to the next store and break their china. And that's just what it is. It's just a string of chaotic insanity, that keeps everybody in balance. He lies incessantly. The lie makes the first fucking impression. Then you got to be told it's a lie. I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie, but a lot of people still trust them. It's maddening, man. But that's what he's doing. And that's what the allies are. It's, like, you didn't talk to us. You want us to sacrifice our blood and treasure for your idiocy?
Right.
It's insane. But he's going to do it again. He'll go to Cuba no matter what happens. If that's what he wants, that's what he wants.
Yeah, let's open a third front in this war. Allan.
I forgot to show you this one video, which you may find heartening.
You guys are the ones who said you'd bring prices down, and now you're doing the opposite. You can't blame Biden for that. Even your own voters blame you.
I'm in Millersburg, Pennsylvania. The reason I'm here is it's a swing district, Pennsylvania's 10th district in a swing state. President Trump won this district by about 5 points. We wanted to talk to people about their feelings about gas prices, about the war. If you could say something to President Trump and he was going to hear you right now, what would it be?
You are a worthless pile of.
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.
She's great.
That's very, of course. But I'm always puzzled by these people whose sole reason for electing or not voting for a president is the price of gas. I mean, there's a lot more stuff on the table, but I understand that the price of gas raises the price of everything, or raises or lowers the price of everything.
I feel like that woman is what, when I talk about the price, or what's the show with the Wheel of Fortune, where somebody needs the last letter exposed before they see the message. And that's a classic.
And they still get it wrong. Yeah, she is. And these are the people that the mainstream media have been chasing around the country for the last decade. You know, they call them in journalism, they call them Cletus safaris. And it's like, let's go find some Cletuses and talk. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting to be shanghaied on the street by a reporter who wants to know my feelings about this stuff, but never mind that. All right. Elsewhere. Excuse me?
Buttons and no, they never,
No, they never asked me.
They never go into those areas. Yeah. They never talk to they never talk to Antifa, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I know. Oh, by the way, I got my pink T-shirt that says Grosse Pointe Antifa on it. I'm going to
oh my god.
I'm going to wear it to the next No Kings demonstration. Anyway. Also in the United States, in the Senate today, or this week rather, the start of the confirmation hearings on Markwayne Mullin, the man with 2 first names mashed together, as Department of Homeland Security Secretary to replace Kristi Noem. And apparently we don't have a video of how tense it got between Rand Paul, the chairman of the House. Which committee was that? I'm not sure what the committee was. Isn't
it the Homeland Security?
Was it Homeland Security? Okay, it's the committee prior or previous to the full Senate vote on confirmation. But apparently these two have been beefing in the Senate for some time, based on, and it was ugly. Alan, did you have your hand up?
Back here on Earth today was the confirmation hearing for the person replacing Kristi Noem as DHS Secretary, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, seen here trying to remember what comes after 3.
That's very funny. Let's never underestimate your enemies, though. You know, he's Steve.
I thought that business about how he handled when Rand Paul was assaulted like that. I mean, I don't remember. It was him and his neighbor, but Paul eventually got a huge settlement out of it, from either a trial, a civil trial, or somebody like Joel managed to, or Bill managed to pick somebody's pocket for a lot of dough.
Your pain is my gain. Your miss is my fortune. That's how it works.
But I mean, he's a sitting United States Senator, and to say what he said, and he didn't deny saying it. I didn't know it when it happened, but that to me, if I were on that committee, my eyebrows would go up. And it looks like Fetterman's going to save him, is what it looks like, right? Because, and Fetterman, you just wonder, is somebody going to run? That we need the pollsters, we need Darcy, and we need. Is somebody going to run against Fetterman, or are they going to just let this guy sit there and pretend to be a Democrat for the next 4 or 6 years?
I predict that he will become a Republican within the next year.
Yeah, he might actually do that. That's entirely possible. I feel like
clothes on. You remember, he goes around Congress without clothes on. He just like comes in with shorts and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, shorts and a sweatshirt.
He's had all kinds of problems himself. He had a stroke, and
We got some issues going
Look,
on.
right after he
I
got
feel
all-
like his eggs got scrambled when he had his medical problems, and now it's, and of course at the time,
Just curious, but okay, go ahead.
the Republicans were howling about him. You know, he's a rubber-brained idiot, and now that he's voting with them, they think he's like the Winston Churchill. So
will Shapiro run against him?
Shapiro might run for president. He may not be.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of stupid when he could become a senator. I think he'd win. Wouldn't he win?
I think he
Yes,
would.
I agree with you.
According to the interwebs, Representative Chris Deluzio, Brendan Boyle, and Connor Lamb are thinking about running against him. So I think it's probably more than that. Just they're going to be lining up to
Him and Shapiro don't like each other.
No, they don't. All right, Alan, let's go to commercial real fast.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, then. Elsewhere in the great United States of America, under the reign of President Trump, we also have the FCC, which is suddenly starting to assert itself. And the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, has rattled his saber about pulling broadcast licenses of media outlets airing what he calls distortions about the Iran war. I believe that Hegseth said the quiet part out loud in front of a microphone last week when he said David Ellison couldn't take over CBS soon enough, or CNN rather, soon enough for him. But Steve.
I read a number of articles about this, and Joel and Bill, I'm sure, could speak more to it because I'm just a poor, dumb criminal lawyer. But all the stuff he's saying is bullshit. He can't do any of it. All they have to do is tell him to go screw himself, and that'd be the end of it. And the thing that's fascinating to me is that they're writing articles thinking, well, what do you think the head of CNN is going to do or the head of whatever broadcasting is going to do? What you do is tell them to go screw yourself. You don't have the authority to do it. The Constitution doesn't allow it, and go fuck yourself. That's all there is to it. So
we don't have people with courage running media outlets anymore.
Well, and also keep in mind, CNN is.
Would the New York Times print the? You think the New York Times would print the Pentagon Papers today?
No.
Maybe the New York Times might.
CNN though is about to be under the umbrella of Paramount Skydance, which is run by David Ellison, the nepo baby son of what's the other Ellison?
Larry Ellison.
Larry Ellison, yeah, exactly, the gazillionaire. And it's, look what they've been able to do to CBS in the short time that Barry Weiss has been running things over there.
Let's go back to the original question. The original question you said was, here this guy, Brendan Carr, says he's going to do X, Y, and Z. There's no doubt the owner of anything can do whatever they want. I mean,
right.
But is there any way on the earth that he's allowed to do it under the law? That's what I want to know from Joel and Bill.
And I would assume, I haven't read the FCC statute, but no way. I mean, you can't, this is free speech. It's classic free speech. I can't imagine that anything he would do would be enforceable, would be challenged.
I've got a number. It's not just free speech, it's political speech. That's what really matters. It's political.
Absolutely. Zenith.
It is the highest level of protected speech.
Right.
I think Trump would have a hard time getting more than 2 of the votes on the Supreme Court, and Trump would always rely on those 2.
Okay, so wait, I got a different question. This is again for Darci and it. What's the reason that these people don't have the balls to tell them to go screw themselves? Darci, tell me that, please.
I can't speak for everyone, but all I can say is that, and people have kowtowed. I mean, certainly if you look at CBS is like Exhibit Q, right? I mean, but the tone has been set at the top within the organization. So it depends if they're sycophants and they want, in that case, there was a quid pro quo, right? They wanted to be able to take over other entities. So they compromised with Colbert, with 60 Minutes, with the evening news, with whatever you want to name. So that's the case. So in this case, it's people are looking at their own self-interest. So that the part that you're talking about doesn't seem to matter to them.
Barb, did you have something? You had your hand up a minute ago.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that right now it's the comedians that are doing the fight back. It's Jimmy Kimmel and it's Stephen Colbert and it was Conan O'Brien. Watching the Oscars was hilarious, not because of anything except for the zings they kept getting in, and that's what made him crazy this week. Was being roasted on the Academy Awards. All the jokes about Melania's documentary. But it wasn't even the content. It was the fact that they are the ones that keep doing it over and over again. And Stephen Colbert right now is spending his last weeks posting.
He's got until May, I think. Yeah.
Till May. He's been posting the most wonderful stuff, like American culture from all spectrums. He is reminding us what we're losing when all of TV is Yellowstone, which is, white man stealing the land and the stupid women who love them.
Yeah. And closing the Kennedy Center and all the other
closing the Kennedy Center and hate. Yeah.
Allan.
There was some heartening news in the media because it's been so devastating with what's gone on with the Washington Post and all that stuff. But Dana Milbank, a columnist at the Washington Post, announced that he's leaving and that Robert Albatron, who is the founder of Politico, who's a billionaire, multi-billionaire, is starting a new publication in Washington, D.C., where they're going to have everything the Washington Post should have. The Washington Post has shut down the sports department. They've laid off all the photographers, and they want to have a real newsroom again. And it's great. And I expected nobody was going to leave that big of a gap, and the Post can't dictate. I think, the Post at best is going to end up like Politico, and at worst is going to be dead in short time. And people who have money, and this Albatron guy is willing to stand up to whoever, and he's not going to kowtow to Trump and stuff like that. And so I found that really heartening, and at a time of really disheartening news about the media. So
that was really good news.
Bill,
I just want to join what Barb said. These comedians, though, historically have been the source of a lot of the pushback. If you go back to the 60s, Lenny Bruce.
Tom Lear.
Lenny Bruce didn't get the kind of widespread audiences that Stephen Colbert does. And
I agree with you, but it was a different era in terms of the media back then. But my point is that the comedians have often led the free speech movement in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Al Franken, when nobody was pushing back in the Bush years, he wrote the book, Rush Limbaugh's a Big Fat Idiot.
Smothers Brothers, that was another.
Really stood out and been the strongest voice that we have for democracy, really, at this point. And the federal judges, a lot of the federal judges.
I was just going to say, isn't it weird that at the end of all this, if we come through it in one piece and we can start building our way back, that we will owe it to comedians and federal judges? Thank God for the law in this country. Speaking of which, a federal judge blocked the subpoenas in the Trump administration criminal probe of the Fed chair, of course, Jerome Powell. And, this is another one where you just have to say, the system, the guardrails are there. Steve.
I want all the listeners to know how extraordinary that is. That's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
In fact, in my 52 plus years of doing this and spending an awful lot of time in federal court and dealing with federal investigations and cases, I've never seen it. I've never had a case where anybody went to a federal judge. And remember, in every district, there's a judge who's assigned to the grand jury. Okay, that's how it wound up in front of whoever the judge was in this case. The extraordinary nature of this is something that you cannot overemphasize. That judge found that this is complete and total baloney. There's not one bit of probable cause to suspect that he committed any kind of a crime, let alone a federal crime. And people should just understand that. You know, you read the paper, and if you don't have a legal background or anything like that, it's easy to just say, oh, okay, I see. This is an extraordinary thing, and it'll be interesting as hell to see what happens when it goes to the circuit court for appeal.
Well, Steve, what we need is to go back to the 60s with Flip Wilson. Here come the judge.
Yeah. Well, and this has happened. I mean, the reach, talk about the reach is exceeding the grasp. The things that the Trump Department of Justice has tried to get away with just in the last few months. I mean, charging the guy that threw a sandwich at a cop with a felony assault with a sandwich. You know, I mean, it's like the jokes write themselves. Well, then they tried to get him on a misdemeanor, and they couldn't even do that.
But I think Steve's right, and it is extraordinary. But Steve, when was the last time in your 54 years that you saw a Justice Department operate this way?
Well, there's no doubt. Agreed.
And, I mean, we've got a situation in which Pam Bondi is likely to be held in contempt of Congress, and who gets to decide how to prosecute that contempt citation? Oh, Pam Bondi. What do you think the odds of that happening are?
Yeah.
I mean, these are extraordinary times. They really are.
All right. I do want to get to, since we don't often have, some of our non-regular guests have areas of expertise that I think we should pay special attention to. Absolutely. I do want to talk to Ed and Darci about now that we're in 2026, we're going to elect a new governor, new state executive ranks, and there's a Senate primary as well to fill Gary Peters' seat. So tell us, Ed, what you're hearing about both parties in the gubernatorial primary to start.
Well, right. Well, actually, there's a lot going on. As a matter of fact, the women of the West are starting to take over the East. Dick DeVos, all the Republican billionaires, women, basically are starting to control the conventions. A lot of people know what's going on in money. The support for John James has dropped a little bit from the DeVos family, just by what you think. At the polling just recently, it's got to the poll this right now. Republicans have spent the 2,000 sample poll in Michigan on the gubernatorial race. Perry Johnson is catching up to John James right now.
Unbelievable.
Perry Johnson is really moving because he spent $3 million in the last month and a half.
47.
Let's cash Perry fever, man. It would be-
Yeah. Okay. So the bottom line, because Michael Cox isn't getting traction. So right now, Perry Johnson. Right now, it's Republicans believe right now he has the most momentum of the groups. That's what's going on there. Okay. And the other thing is that there's tons of money being spent in Macomb County by Republicans to get him out of the gubernatorial race, to get him back into the congressional race. Republicans are trying to control that. As a matter of fact, the trouble with that, Mike Bouchard's son, who's now running for Congress in Macomb County, doesn't want that to happen because unions like the Bouchard family, so they're hoping their son would have got that post. On the issue for Mike Rogers at the present time, Mike Rogers probably is going to get it because none of the candidates that have been running, the lady from, I can remember her last name, from Grand Rapids, who's related to her sister in Detroit, there's not getting any traction. The Tony Forlini, the secretary, the clerk from Macomb County, the women in West Michigan don't like him. So they're spending a big campaign to deny him at the convention floor. On the Democratic side, Al Saeed might be the spoiler for McMorrow. Right now, Haley Stevens is losing. If she loses, it's because of her own fault. Okay, McMorrow right now is being more visible, and so Haley Stevens. I mean, I'm not going to mention what she's being called by different people. The point being, Haley right now, if she loses, it's her own fault.
And why? What's going on? What's happening that's making it?
Her presentation is making people who fund this race very unhappy in her presentation. They just don't see the energy in her presentation at all. Okay, that's as far as I'll go on that. They just don't see the traction. Mm-hmm. On the issue of the governor's race, both Republicans and Democratic polling, internal polling, even the Republican polling, said that right now Benson is pretty much leading across the state. Right. Mike Duggan can be a spoiler, but right now Benson's starting to gain traction. And the problem with Duggan is all his money is coming from MAGA, or it's the Bernsteins, or it's the Bill Fords. And the question is, how long is that going to happen? And what the Bernsteins say is, well, what party are you in, Mr. Bernstein?
Can I briefly interrupt you and ask you?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of the Chambers poll that was released 3 or 4 weeks ago that that showed Benson Duggan in a dead heat with John James a few points.
Well, just remember the chamber is supporting Mike Duggan.
I know they are, but I mean, they are. I don't think they're.
The poll was erroneous. That was erroneous.
Okay, all right. Fair
And
enough.
why do you say that? What makes
Because I was doing polling at the same time, and I don't see those kind of numbers. I see him being a spoiler, but not the tide thing. No, because he's not spending much outside state.
Okay, Darcy.
Well, and I'm just going to co-sign with Ed on that. It's my understanding that they shopped that poll around to a number of entities who refused to sort of take it up, utilize it, and so he sort of did an end around to get the chamber to put it out to make it seem credible, but that there were a lot of issues with the poll itself. So
okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
And I have a quick question, Ed. How do you tilt polls? How do some people make it imbalanced?
Well, actually, it doesn't mean that they're not accurate. For example, and Darcy will agree with this. For example, generally when I'm doing a poll, I push the undecided to lean one way or another. Okay. So if I want to make a poll look one way or the other, I will push the Duggan people to make a commitment. But what the undecided against Benson, I will leave them out of the final numbers. So I'm still giving you the accurate numbers, but I'm not pushing everybody to aggregate all the votes for all the candidates in the poll. And that happens a lot of times.
But you would never do such a thing, would you, Ed?
No, I may call you for 500 positions and say I did a poll of 500 people, and I call you 500 times.
Interesting. It's this is so okay. So that's good to know about Duggan.
But technically, the poll is legally done. Okay, it's just the fact is how you weight the poll with the undecided vote or breaking it out. I can make the numbers go either way or not. Because remember, all polls are weighted. Despite what everybody tell you, if I get too many Republicans or too many people like Bill, I have to remove the number and balance it out with Joel. You just have to do those things.
It's the difference between facts and the truth, is what.
Yes.
It reminds me when my first 2 years I went to Wayne State. I was on WAYN radio. It was like 73 when there was a gas shortage, and we were giving away to the fifth caller 5 gallons of free gas, and a guy would call and he'd go, "Am I the fifth caller?" I said, "No, you're the first. Can you call back 4 more times?"
Ed, I wanted to follow up. So tell me about Saeed's coming up. You really think that he can overcome?
No. Saeed would be a spoiler, denying Morrow the position. Not Saeed is going to get through the.
Oh, okay.
Right. Remember, Saeed is not getting anybody over 40. His whole base is the Bernie Sanders vote and very young.
Well, that's not true because Nancy might vote for him. But
I was thinking.
Yeah, but she's a young woman. She's just hiding her age.
Jesus, boy, Ed, you are a silver-tongued devil.
You really are. I thought it was El Sayed, but I could be wrong. When you say Saeed, it sounds like we're talking about our
Saeed
in our who's in the back of the
right
now. So, okay, all right.
I really wish I thought that Abdul would win because I like him a whole lot. And we supported him when he ran for governor and had him out at a couple events and stuff. And he's great. And he's right about health costs. He's completely right about that. I just have a hard time thinking that anybody outside of Southeastern Michigan is going to vote for a Muslim guy. And I hate to say it. I mean, I really do. But I think that's a tough
New York
for Northern Michigan.
Just remember this. It's very hard for a woman running the first time to win Detroit or Ann Arbor, okay? Typically, women get their biggest boosts from West Michigan. Debbie Stabenow, Jennifer Granholm. West Michigan is where Democratic women in primaries get their votes, not from Detroit, okay?
So I think the bigger question then, Ed, becomes who can beat Mike Rogers?
I would say on the face of it, if she got her act together, Haley Stevens is much better situated because of her position on issues than McMurrow. But McMurrow's the one that's been doing a lot more shining and visibility. She's been funded by dark money to keep her on national TV. If you go all over the country, she's been all out there on TV. She's being very well promoted, and Haley Stevens is not. So McMurrow still has an opportunity. I'm not saying but what I'm saying, Haley Stevens is beating herself. McMurrow has got the funding, she's got the energy. And the only hurt for her right now is our Arab person. And that's the only reason she would not win.
Speaking of Muslim guys,
Darcy, Darcy's got her hand up.
Darcy, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, I was just going to add that the sort of bloom is sort of off the rose. There was so much momentum and energy around Haley Stevens when she ran the first time, and people are disillusioned with her lack of attentiveness, lack of accountability, but also, like Ed was trying to allude to, there may be no there. Like people don't hear or see the substance from her that they were hoping for.
Yes.
The Advantage McMorrow, of course, she got some national acclaim, state acclaim in terms of her positions on the floor when it comes to sexual assault, reproductive rights. So she kind of rode that wave successfully, which has got her some momentum. She stepped in it with the comment about rappers, but she's been doing double time, where she's basically said to reach the Black vote, you're going to use some rap artists. So she's been doing double time to make up for that mess up. So a lot of outreach. And then Abdul Syed has always had a strong grassroots engagement approach. And so he's been able to build on that. So that's my little insight.
I just wanted to say, speaking of Muslim guys in high office, if you have a chance to look up the social accounts of Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, and look at his statement that he made on St. Patrick's Day, you will see a generational talent. He did about a 2.5-minute video wishing New Yorkers a happy St. Patrick's Day, and he didn't talk about the snakes in Ireland. He didn't talk about, he went from St. Patrick's said this to, and this led to this, and this. I mean, it was like a spectacular history lecture in 2.5 minutes that all kind of ended in Palestine. And it was, it was amazing. I sent it to a bunch of people and they all, this guy he and AOC are like the two of the brightest young stars to come out of New York recently. All right, we're getting close to the end, but I do want to get to one more thing. Anybody flown lately? What's it been like to go through TSA? And slow. Okay. I mean, it's the partial shutdown of the government, which is targeted mainly the DHS, which pays the Transportation Safety Administration. Some of these people have not been paid now for going on a month. Some of them are calling in sick. The lines get longer, the tempers get shorter. And all I want to know is my TSA membership still being honored? Do I get waved through? I mean, nobody's been in an airport lately? Steve.
I have not, but our daughter was stranded overnight because flights were canceled. All she was trying to do was come back from New York to Chicago. On the other hand, my wife just came back from an overseas trip and she had no problem at all. She flew from Brussels to Atlanta, and Atlanta, can be a mess. And she got on the plane and got home. So it's hard to say.
Okay. All right. Glad to hear that. Allan, you want to go to our last segment?
Our last segment. Hold on a second. Whoops. I'm a little bit.
I try to get done.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Smart of the Week.
Is Robert still with us?
He's not. He's not working at they don't have the valet service anymore.
What are you talking about? I just left my car there this morning, and I have my keys in my pocket.
Oh, really?
Okay. What are you talking about?
I told him he was the mayor of Griswold.
For those people who don't get this particular inside joke, Deadline Detroit used to have offices in the Ford building, and he was the valet there in front. I only rarely use the valet service because I am but a poor girl, and I consider myself a ninja parallel parker, and I would find a street space and then use the app and
it worked perfect. Then you'd get a ticket, you'd pay $45. That's a brilliant.
I put alarms on my
Gross Point. I put
alarms on my phone, so when it expired, I would just immediately start a new session. And I think I only got one ticket, and that was because I made a dumb mistake. So anyway, but a couple times I just couldn't find anything and I had to valet it. But that's, like I said, it's not something I do. Okay, who wants to start? Bill, who's your schmuck this week?
I've got ties for my schmucks of the week. Two of my least favorite people on the planet are Mark Wayne Mullen and John Fetterman. They belong in bed together, apparently. I mean, when you can get Rand Paul and Gary Peters to vote together to stop this from moving forward, and John Fetterman allows it out of committee.
Yeah.
We talk about rhinos all the time. This guy's a dino. He's a Democrat in name only. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it was his stroke. I don't know what happened to this guy, but as I predicted earlier, I believe he will become a Republican within the next, I'm going to predict 6 months. And Mark Wayne Mullen.
So dumb.
I can't believe this person got elected.
So dumb.
He got nominated.
So dumb.
DHS.
It's like his mother never heard of the space between two names. We're just going to call him Mark Wayne.
Well, and so I'm convinced that his mother and father were either first cousins or maybe brothers and sisters.
Oh, yeah. Here's that Yankee prejudice.
Earlier joke about the South, but
against our Okie friends.
Yeah, apparently when his parents got divorced, they asked the divorce attorney, when we're divorced, will we still be cousins?
He gets custody of baby Mark Wayne. So there we go. All right. Darcy.
A rapper's name.
All right. So this is, I have two, I guess it's in line with so it's a Benjamin Wagner and the Detroit Police Department prosecutor worthy charged allegedly Mr. Wagner raped 5 women and girls between 1999 and 2003. But DPD gets hit because he was charged with assaulting his stepdaughter. He was not convicted, but basically he went off the force for that. Then he came back on the force, which basically is the same time frame where he's alleged to have assaulted these women. So schmuck of the week would be Mr. Wagner and the Detroit Police Department, who reinstated him. And then it's probably a tardy mention of Karen Whitsett, but she's not running again and she's not showing up to work. And so she shouldn't be in the legislature.
Terrible headaches. So isn't that her excuse? And my head hurts. I can't.
Right.
God. All right. Ed.
Mine is because it's the purporting of listening to Trump talk about he doesn't really concerned about who dies or something because it's a war thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, it's Scott Benson who admitted that Trump is elated the fact that he can help his buddy Putin now sell gas. So we got gas so we can lower our rates, forgetting about the people in Ukraine, forgetting about all that kind of stuff. He's removing all bans. The bottom line, we can get more. Putin can get help because now he's got selling gas, and let the Ukrainians just die in the field again. It's just, to me, it's such a sad state of affairs.
Mm-hmm. It really is. So I get you in there. Barb.
I have 2. One of them is Pete Hegseth, who wants $200 billion because it takes money to kill bad guys.
He's the secretary.
He really has no. He doesn't understand though. Position. This is clear, but it's insane. But my other one, and we can headline this: "Don't have heroes." Is Cesar Chavez.
Oh my goodness.
Who?
Yeah, there he is.
It really is what Cesar Chavez and the farm workers was able to accomplish is a wonderful, it's an amazing thing. And supporting the hardest workers, the most unseen workers that bring us, we eat every day food that has been handled by farm workers that are paid terrible money. You can't, and even knowing that there were other people in charge of that. But
explain why because not everybody reads the New York Times.
He has been accused of raping several young women and girls,
very young, like
very young girls that he groomed to be
early teens.
And the part that's so horrible about it though is that 96-year-old Dolores Huerta, who remains a hero of mine, stood up and said, "Yeah, it happened to me too with him."
Dolores Huerta is the co-founder of the United Farm Workers.
Farm Workers.
With Cesar Chavez. And Cesar Chavez has been dead now since, I think, 1993, I read. He died fairly
something
young,
like that,
mid-60s, yeah. But, it was a very disheartening
heartbreaking
piece to read.
I mean, they're taking down Cesar Chavez Boulevard signs. They have there's usually there was a movement to make a national holiday, which never would have happened in the Trump administration. But all of that is gone, and it's just, you know, I know that you're all shocked that a powerful man would use his power to rape
assault
women.
women. But I have to say,
the good news. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill.
I think the good news in this story is the difference between the left and the right.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So say
it comes out, and what does the left do? This tarnishes this man's reputation. We've got to look at him differently now, and we can't defend what he did.
Yeah.
Trump does it. Trump does it. Oh, boys will be boys.
Right. It's yeah.
I'm proud of the labor movement so far.
Yeah.
I do think we ought to be proud of that.
I have to say this was an exceptionally well reported piece, and I read the How We Did It piece sidebar, and you know they have physical evidence, they have contemporaneous evidence, things that these girls said to others at the time. It's you know they don't have DNA, but you know they've got probably the next best thing. So there we go.
I think they totally have the goods on them.
It's a real shame.
Those are mine. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, Steve.
Well, first thing I want to say is Darcy and we can't say anything about Mark Wayne Mullen and his family because we were taught when we were young, you don't play the dozens. You guys want to know what that means, you can ask us later. But in any event,
I know how to play the dozens. And
in any event, my schmuck of the week actually is Pete Hegseth too, but for a completely different reason and for a reason it would be impossible for you guys to have recognized unless you happen to be walking through my kitchen as I was doing when my wife had the TV on and Hegseth was taking questions from the press. Somebody told him after the times where he looked like he was throwing daggers at the press and screaming at him and all this, somebody must have sat him down and said, look, we don't want you to behave like that anymore. Between him and the U.S. attorney, you know, in D.C., same kind of thing. They were asking questions. I had to stop in my tracks. He would go, that's a fine question. Thank you very much for asking. And then his whole voice was completely different. And I said to my wife, I said, did you happen to see the guy the last time he had a break?
Right.
No. I said, this is 180 degrees different. So he's the schmuck of the week because he's a schmuck, number one. But he's a schmuck because he tried to act like a regular person. And he still really came across as even more of a schmuck. So
it's like those aliens trying to wear a human suit. You know,
Right.
it just doesn't quite fit.
So he's my guy.
Okay. Joel.
I was going with Fetterman, Hegseth as well. I'm going to go with Steve Miller. Just tap it off. I saw him in an interview with the guy. My flesh literally, I get physically ill when I see the guy. I tell you, man, you got to plaster that guy every place. He is viscerally just repellent. So he is my schmuck. Yeah, he's just
he's a perennial. You know, it's like he's the little black dress of schmuckitude. He's always appropriate. So
our Pee Wee German.
Yeah, exactly. Allan.
I was going to. Everyone's got Marky Wayne.
Mark Wayne.
I mean, one of the questions he was asked, do you believe that Joe Biden legitimately won? And he said, well, Joe Biden was sworn in as our president. I mean, the problem is that, you know, he's trying to be normal there and stuff like that. They all, during these committee hearings, they all say all the right things, and then they do the opposite. They do whatever Trump wants. The other person is Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney for D.C., who was whining about the judge suppressing or quashing the subpoena. And as Steve said, I mean, I had never heard of a judge, quashing a grand jury subpoena, but these judges are seeing, there is a gatekeeper also for justice, and they've decided this Justice Department is so out of control. This is so against the system, and they're being bold like that, and they should be congratulated for doing that. And Jeanine Pirro, who's constantly trying to indict everyone, including the sandwich person, and the old saying, you can indict a ham sandwich in the grand jury, but she can do that. So she's disgraceful.
Well, thank goodness that John Roberts is hinting to these judges, keep doing it. Okay, I mean, he's not normally on their side, but he's been hinting, don't stop.
Gene Weinbach's. That's what I always think.
You'll see with that 14th Amendment case. I mean, that's really critical that's coming up. Then you'll see how the justices really are. That's a huge issue.
All right. Let's see. Mine is the Washington Post has had two stories in the last week that have really pointed out one of the weirder aspects of the Trump presidency, which is it's not just that he asks for things from the toadies and ass kissers that he's put in these powerful positions, but they try to pre-anticipate what he is going to ask for and deliver it to him, something that will please him on a silver platter. It's really something. And the most recent person to do this is this man known as Rodney Mims Cook II. This is his photograph. Wow, it's right. This is Rodney Mims Cook, who is apparently chairman of the Federal Arts Commission.
Went to school with Stephen Mumford, I can tell.
Yeah.
One of those guys.
And he wants to pull out the portico columns on the White House, which are ionic. And if you remember, if you took comparative arts in college, art, humanities 118, you remember the three basic kinds of columns. There's the Doric column, which is pretty plain, the Ionic, which has the scroll work at the top, and then there's something called the Corinthian, and those are extremely fancy. I mean, they're often fluted, and they have this business at the top with these leaves and eggs and all this other stuff like that. The White House has Ionic columns and fairly simple ones, and he wants to replace them with Corinthian columns, which, first of all, is not necessary, wouldn't fit, and would be a huge invitation for Trump to get out there with his, crew of ass kissers from Mar-a-Lago and gild the fucking things, which is
they'll be gold. They'll absolutely be gold.
It is bad enough that what he's done to the White House, the Oval Office and the Colonnade and all those areas, that he's thrown all that gold crap on. And I'm really looking forward to the next Democratic president. And during the inauguration, they're going to have we're going to check in on the guys who are standing all that shit off.
The one thing that no one's going to do that Trump has done, the poor people who need shoes, he buys shoes for everybody.
Yeah, he buys shoes for everybody, and he guesses at the sizes. So yeah, exactly. That's how we had the other comical note of Marco Rubio in these shoes.
Clown shoes.
Are ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, so and then there's another. I think the Federal Arts Commission has a subcommittee on coins, and they also, without being asked, have approved this gold piece. Okay.
Wow, that's another wow. Oh my God. It's the scariest coin I've ever seen.
It really is. And if you lean your nose very close to your screen, you can see that he has these Melania style cheekbones too, which is just like Mr. Doughface just does not have that. But anyway.
Wow.
So that's not, so my schmuck is the toadies on the Federal Arts Commission who are making it. It's a little trivial for when we're at war, but there we go. So, all right. You have endured another week, another hour of the week that was, and we're really glad that you came to join us, and we love every one of you. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Joel. And with the last word, always, Allan.
Drive home safely.
All right. Thank you, Nancy.